So welcome back, everybody. Today I am joined by Joel from Melbourne in Australia. So Joel, go ahead and introduce yourself to us and then tell us about what inspired you to become a dietitian.
Yeah, sure. Look, thanks for inviting me on. I've been practicing for 5 years now. I always struggle with my elevator pitch because I guess I do a number of different things. I wear a number of different hats, so hopefully viewers will get a bit of an idea of who I am and what I do. But I guess, yeah, your initial question about how I found myself into dietetics. And I think I'm probably going to give you a cliched answer here because I was always interested in health. I always was interested in science. I always loved food and I loved cooking, but the dots never really connected for me until probably my mid-20s. I actually did a biomedical science degree. I then went and did a bit of sports science, and I thought that was the path I was going to take. And then it sort of dawned on me, hey, I love food. I love to cook. I love the idea that food can be therapeutic for you. I might actually look into nutrition and dietetics. So I think I was 24, 25 at the time, and decided to do a bit of work experience and met with a few dietitians. And I was lucky enough to be, I guess, given the time and inspired to pursue a career. So I then went and did a year and a half of nutrition and then finished off with a couple of years in dietetics. And the rest, they say, is history.
Yeah, great. And then, so since you've been a dietitian, walk us through kind of your career path and then tell us about all the hats that you wear in your day-to-day job.
I continually pinch myself because I think I'm in a very lucky sort of situation. And when I graduated, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do. Prior to graduating, if you'd asked me, I would have said I wanted to be a clinical dietitian. I wanted to work in a hospital, but then during my clinical rotation, it sort of dawned on me that it probably wasn't the best fit. So when I graduated, I actually had no idea I would have taken any job other than a hospital job. And that was back in the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. But since that time, I started my own private practice. I've been working in aged care for some time. I've done some work in corporate health. I've had some experience in sports nutrition as well, consulting to a couple of the Australian football teams here in Melbourne. I guess I've been lucky enough to do quite a bit of media. A couple of years ago, I was made a media spokesperson for the Dietitians Association, and it's something that I love doing. I love talking to the masses. I love breaking down some of the, I guess, the misnomers and mistruths about nutrition. One of my passions are food trends and nutrition trends as well, and debunking some of those commonly held myths. I think I do that a lot in private practice. As I said before, is cooking, and that's something that I'm able to do and showcase on my Instagram, and that's actually led to some amazing opportunities. I've got a little segment on a cooking show here in Australia to showcase different recipes and healthy recipes, and I've actually written a couple of cookbooks for some companies. So I know my friends, they love talking about my work, clinical, public health, or even food service space. So one of the things I love doing is writing. It was another thing I didn't talk about, but I do a bit of freelancing, and I've got a regular gig actually with one of the publications in Australia. So that's something that I am really passionate about. And I guess the nutrition communications is sort of what I want to get into. But back to the question, I saw that there may be opportunities to do cooking, and I just sort of went with that and really, use my Instagram in particular to showcase that and building these relationships. As I said, I didn't quite know what it would look like. And sometimes it feels like I'm banging my head against a brick wall and I'm getting nowhere. But then at the same time, I'm actually slowly but surely creating some of these opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily think a dietitian could do.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. So what excites you most then about your work in nutrition?
If you ask me, on one particular day, I might give you one response. And if you ask me on another, I'll give you a different response.
Right.
once again, I'll probably give you a, cliched response, but I actually think I've got a wonderful job. I think there are so many opportunities out there, not only for me, but dietitians in general and health professionals. And I think because one of my passions is nutrition communications, there's an opportunity to write, there's an opportunity to really get behind social media, and if that's Instagram or Facebook or obviously YouTube, there are so many platforms out there to get a positive message out there. But yeah, I think there are some wonderful opportunities, and I think there are certainly some things that we probably haven't even thought of. That dietitians can do. I mean, one of the things that I'm trying to do at the moment is do more consulting to food industry, and I think that's kind of untapped. I don't know what it's like over your neck of the woods, but I think there's certainly some big opportunities here for nutrition professionals to work very, very closely with the food industry to really improve the quality, particularly the nutritional quality of the food that we eat.
Yeah, definitely. I know there are some positions over here in like bigger corporations, and usually they'll have a dietitian or two on staff, but I don't think it's everywhere, and it definitely doesn't seem like a saturated market. So that would be really interesting work for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So it's as I said, when I graduated, I didn't know that I'd be able to do half of the things that I'm doing now. And I think that's only been 5 years. I can only imagine what the next 5-10 years are going to look like for dietitians. So I think it's a very exciting area, and it can be quite frustrating. I'm sure you harbour similar sentiments that a lot of people think that they're the nutrition experts. And we put up with a lot of background noise, and there's a lot of confusion out there. But at the same time, I think that it's positive that people do take an interest in nutrition, and hopefully we're still the respected expert that people turn to when they need evidence-based advice.
Yeah, definitely. So if somebody is thinking about becoming a dietitian, what would be kind of your first line of advice for them? And then maybe if you could just really briefly touch on the steps to becoming a dietitian over in Australia.
So yeah, I think you've got to have an interest in food. You've got to have an interest in health. I think, once again, cliche, but be really passionate about some of those things. The advice that I tend to give a lot of students is think outside the box. Think about what you can offer the profession. Think about, what the profession can offer you in a sense as well. Think about all the opportunities that exist outside, clinical space. I mean, if you wanted to work in a hospital, that's obviously fine, but I think there are so many more opportunities out there for dietitians. So think about your point of difference. And I know we had a bit of a chat offline before about why there are so few male dietitians, but for me, my point of difference is a more obvious one. But if that's a particular niche or particular special interest for someone, I think really, focus on that and be that expert, or be that point of difference, be that go-to person. So that's kind of my advice to new grads coming through, or even students who are contemplating nutrition. I mean, I guess for the journey that one can take, I mean, there are certainly numerous journeys people can take, and my journey was a little bit different. That I call myself a perpetual student. I was at uni for 10 years. You don't necessarily need to be at university for that long. Here in Australia, you can do an undergraduate degree in health science, or just a general science course, and then go on to do a Masters of Dietetics. But you can always take the longer route that I took, and that's sort of finding nutrition dietetics a little bit later on in the journey. But yeah, there's certainly lots of opportunities. And I know in Australia, there are new grads being pumped out of the system every year. And I think that's one of the challenging things. And I do talk to a lot of students and new grads, and actually mentoring a new grad at the moment. And we've got 120 new grads just in Victoria alone who graduate. And there are obviously very few jobs out there. So it's really about finding not only what you're passionate about, what you're good at, but also finding a particular area that you can build a career in.
Oh yeah, really interesting for sure. Yeah, it's so interesting to hear kind of even some of the differences between like there and here and like how it all works. Getting
Is it similar over
credentialed and
in the States?
I think we're so it's like a similar credentialing. Now we're moving to where you do a master's degree as well, but the jobs are pretty plentiful here, but where we get kind of held up is we have to do like a year internship prior to becoming credentialed, and there's not enough internships to fill the needs for the students that are graduating. So I think that, so once they get into a career path, the job opportunities seem to be plentiful, but the actually getting there, a lot of people get discouraged because only about half of the people that apply will get an internship. So it kind of becomes a numbers game.
Yeah, I've got to admit it's a bit of a worry if that's the case. I mean, I feel like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's slightly different here, but I think there are so many new grads and so many few positions. But once again, I think even if you do have that qualification, you don't necessarily need to practice as a dietitian. I think it gives you, I think dietitians have a unique skill set, if that's counselling skills, if that's writing, if that's being able to decipher the science and then communicate that science. I wonder if you don't, you don't necessarily need to follow the path of a conventional dietitian. Even though I didn't even talk about it, but I actually do a bit of private practice as well. But obviously so many opportunities, and sometimes I wear my dietetic hat and sometimes I don't, but I've always got that qualification to fall back on. So if you're watching this and you're a student or a new grad and you failed to get an internship over in the States, I certainly wouldn't be discouraged or disheartened, because there are so many opportunities outside the norm.
Yeah, definitely. That's really good encouragement for sure, because I know a lot of people fall into that category. So thank you for that for
Pleasure.
them. Yeah, cool. Well, tell us about where we can connect with you, where we can find you, and anything else you want us to know.
Yeah, so I guess I'm out there in the digital world. My website, I've actually just rebranded and launched a new website. So I am the nutrition guy. So www.thenutritionguy.com.au. And in terms of social media, I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, but Instagram is my main jam. So my handle is _nutrition guy. So please connect with me. I think that's probably it in terms of where I'm out there. But yeah, I'm sure you get a good feel from looking at my Instagram, but also my website as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll link all that down below. And I was looking at your website. It looks stunning. So great job with the
Thank you so much.
rebrand. Yeah, so good. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really enjoyed having you on.
Thanks, Amy. Great to chat to you.
Yeah, cool. Well, we will see you guys next time.
Next week on Dial a Dietitian.
I first got really interested in nutrition in college. It's not something that I knew I wanted to do going in. I knew I wanted to do something medical, but everything takes so much time. So it's kind of what I settled on. It was something I was always interested in, but I didn't really know that it was a viable